my friends. Gather round as we reach out to the depths of hell to call forth a devil to do our work.
Greetings gamers, I'm Anto, and today we're making a deal with the devil. Stick around to the end of the video and I'll tell you how to get hold of this Infernal contract for free. Devils in D&D and other RPGs are well known for their contract making, and this makes them excellent choices to deploy in your games to add some drama and make some new and interesting plot lines. Devils can offer you great wealth or assist you in a task, but their help comes with a price, and that price is defined in the contracts that we're going to be talking about today. Before we get into the details of the contract, I think it's worth just talking briefly about Devil Society and how devils act, just so we can understand them a little bit more. In traditional D&D lore, devils are lawful evil creatures that hail from the nine hells. They are usually obsessed with furthering their own power or furthering the power of their masters, and there are two things that unify pretty much all devils. The first is organization and structure. They are lawful creatures after all. And the second is their hatred of demons. Devils and demons have been locked in the blood wars since time immemorial, and there is nothing that a devil hates more than a demon. Understanding these basics of Devil Society will go a long way in helping you craft a more interesting devil contract. For example, you might put a clause in your contract that says, for the duration of the contract, any souls of people that are killed are immediately bound to the devil's master. That adds an extra morality to the contract and makes your players think, well, are we okay with all of these people that die over the course of this coming battle, let's say? Are we okay with their souls being given to a grand devil or an archdevil or whatever this devil serves? I love using devil contracts because I think they add a whole heap of drama to your game. You can use them to spice up an ongoing plot thread, or they can be the basis for an entire campaign arc on their own. So what do you include in a contract with a devil? Well, let's take a look at a blank contract that I've put together, and I will walk you through some of the choices that I've made. So here is the blank version of the contract that I've created. Now this contract is broken into several parts. At its core, a contract is an agreement between two groups. The first party, which is going to be our devil, and the second party, which is the player characters. You can see here up at the top, I've got the first pact. Now the pact is what defines what the contract is, basically. So the first pact details what the devil is going to do for the players, what the goals are and what the duration is, and then what the compensation is. So here at the top we've got an area for you to write in the name of your devil, for the party to write their names in, for them to agree on some goals and put a duration in. Now the duration is really important because if your characters aren't evil, they'll probably be concerned with how long they want this devil running around on the material plane for. Section 1, Part B is if the second party's goals are achieved before the agreed upon time period, the first party will be free to conduct any business they wish upon the plane in which this agreement was signed. Now that means that if your players say, we want a devil's help for an hour, and they accomplish their goal in 5 minutes, well, for the next 55 minutes, the devil is free to roam about the material plane. And this is something that your players probably will want to limit. The last time I employed a devil contract like this, the most time spent by my players was trying to decide on how long they wanted the devil to help them for. They knew that they didn't want the devil running amok in the city. There were innocent people in the nearby city and they didn't want to risk the devil going and harming anyone in the city. Part C of the first section is if your devil works for another master, you can put their name here. If your devil just wants to further their own power, just put the devil's name in this section. The second section details the compensation, and I've used compensation instead of payment because I think it's really interesting when devils ask for something that isn't gold. So they might ask for the players to craft them a very powerful magic item, or a suit of armor, or a weapon, or they might ask for the players' souls. They might ask for the players to get them something. So here is where your devil will say, here is what I want. The players will negotiate, and you've got all of this space in which to negotiate between the two parties. The devil might say, I want your souls. So the players say no. So then the devil says, right, if I can't have your souls, I want the souls of everyone that dies as a result of us conducting our business. And I also want you to get me X. And they put that there. And they say, I'll have all the souls as soon as they die, but I'm going to give you 14 days to get me this item once we're finished here. This section is probably what your players will spend the most time on. They'll be thinking about what they want from the devil and how they want to pay the devil. The rest of the contract, the bottom part here, and everything on the back, that is where your real fun comes in. All of these terms, I almost guarantee not all of your players are going to read this. You can give it to them and they will say they've read it, but the chances are very good that they actually won't. It's like when you click the terms and conditions of a piece of software. How many people really go through and read it? That's what you're banking on here. This is where the devil's true nature is going to come in, and you're going to use this contract to manipulate the party, sneak things in that they might not agree to if it was right at the top of the page. So starting with modification and termination. This is just a really standard thing that says that the two parties can come together and agree to change the things in the contract at any time if they want, and that they can request that they terminate this agreement before the end of the duration. And if they do this, they have to pay some kind of compensation. Then we have a non-disclosure agreement. This is a really interesting addition here because non-disclosure isn't something that really comes up in fantasy games or D&D, but it comes up a lot in the real world. And I wanted to think, what would happen if you broke a non-disclosure agreement with an infernal creature? Well, you would have to answer for breaking infernal law, and who presides over infernal law? The infernal court. So any discussion of this contract or its conditions with any party not directly included in the contract in question is prohibited unless agreed on by all parties or in the presence of a member of the infernal court. Failure to comply with this non-disclosure agreement will result in the suspension or termination of the contract and an infernal bounty being placed on the souls of the second party and all parties with whom details of the contract have been shared. This is a lot of fun. Adding clauses that rope in infernal bounties, the infernal court, the whole hellish legal system can add a lot of fun to your contracts. For example, in my current game, my party recently broke their infernal contract, and as such they've all had infernal bounties placed on them. So in the near future they're going to have representatives of the infernal court coming to them and attempting to bring them to infernal justice, and it is a lot of fun. And then finally we have the terms and conditions. This is where you're going to really hide anything that you want to sneak past your players or that the devil would want to use to manipulate the players. And then this last section just says, this pact is void if signed under duress caused either directly or indirectly by either party. That just stops people from being able to dominate someone and force them to sign a contract. Something really important to keep in mind when using devil contracts is that devils are evil. They want to take advantage of your players, and they'll do everything they can to make sure that they are benefiting more from this contract than your players. In really simple terms, that means that what they want will usually be much more valuable than what the players are getting, and the players will usually end up signing these sorts of contracts in a situation where they can't really say no, so where they really need the help of a devil. Especially good and not evil characters, they're much less likely to employ the services of a devil to begin with. So if they're calling on a devil, things are already really bad and the devil can really take advantage of that. So you're convinced you want to use a devil in your game, but how do you go about doing it? Well, there are a couple of different ways that you can introduce a devil into your game. First, we have the situation where your players come across the devil on the road or on their travels, and the devil freely offers them up a contract. I call this the devil went down to Georgia method. In traditional media, this would usually involve the player's soul, but in D&D and other RPGs, the soul can be much more important, so you probably are going to have a hard sell trying to convince someone to give up their soul. Instead, maybe the devil needs something much more practical. Maybe they've had a large portion of their power stripped by a local wizard and trapped in some sort of device, and they say, I will give you X if you go to this tower and you break this device or bring it back or kill the wizard or something like that. The next way you can have your players meet a kind of devil figure is what I call the Needful Things approach. Have your devil run some kind of shop and offer excellent deals and bargains to your players in exchange for them signing some sort of contract. You'd be surprised at how willing players are to do this. In my current campaign, my players met a local merchant called Vendor who always seemed to know exactly what they want, always seemed to have exactly what they needed in stock. And it got to the point where they were purchasing basically everything off Vendor. And at one point, one of the player characters said, I really want this really powerful magical item. I can't afford it. Is there a deal we can work out? And Vendor says, well, I can give it to you right now. You just have to sign this, and produced a blank contract. Or to the player's eyes, it was blank. The players signed it. They signed it, and they also signed a member of their family as a guarantor on the contract, even though they couldn't see the terms of the contract, in exchange for this powerful magical artifact. They knew deep down something was wrong, but all of the players were benefiting too much from this Needful Things type situation to really question it at the time. And when it came back to bite them, none of them were surprised, but it was still a really satisfying resolution. And the final most common way that you can introduce a devil into your game is through a binding or summoning ritual. The conventional binding and summoning spells have their limitations for making a deal with a devil, but you can use them to bring a devil to the material plane and then offer that devil some kind of deal. It's not super common that you get to offer a devil a contract of your own instead of it being the other way around, so this can be a really nice flip of the regular dynamic. I really hope that you've enjoyed this video and it sparked your imagination and made you want to use devils in your own game. If you want to use a devil contract but don't want to spend all that time writing it, I have made a blank version that you've already seen a little bit of that you can get as a PDF, both as a blank print-friendly version and as a little fancier one that you can use if you play using a virtual tabletop. There are a couple of different ways that you can get your hands on this. If you want to help support the channel and help me make more videos like this, you can join my Patreon, which is linked down in the description below, and all my patrons will get a copy of this contract. Or if you don't want to pay any money and you just want to get your hands on the contract, you can join my Discord server where there will be a link to the PDF in the announcements page. Let me know down in the comments below if you've used a devil in the past or if it's something that you would consider using in the future. And if you have used devils in the past and made deals with your players, how did it go? Tell me everything about the exchange down in the comments below too. But until next time, happy gaming. Thanks for watching. If you're new here and you like what you see, hit that subscribe button. I release a new RPG, tabletop and world building related content every single week. And if you enjoy what I do here and want to help the channel grow, consider supporting me on Patreon. And if you want to keep watching, I've got another couple videos over there. But until next time, happy gaming.